I never thought I'd be the kind of person to tell about my life, but here I am. My name is Anna, and I'm 32, stuck in a marriage that's been going downhill for longer than I care to admit. Let me tell you about the people in my life, starting with my husband, Michael. Michael was charming when we first met. He had this easy smile and a way of making everyone feel important. But that was before his true colors showed and before his parents, Evelyn and George, became a constant shadow in our lives. Evelyn and George, where do I even start? They're the kind of people who think the world owes them something. They're Michael's parents, and from day one, they've been a thorn in my side. They're the reason Michael and I are on the brink of divorce. Our story starts on a typical evening at our house. Michael had just come home from work, and I was in the kitchen trying to get dinner ready after a long day at my job. "Anna, why isn't dinner ready yet?" Michael's voice was sharp, a tone that had become all too familiar. I sighed, feeling the day's fatigue weigh on me. "I just got home, Michael. It's been a crazy day at work." He rolled his eyes. "Excuses. You know my parents are coming over. They expect a proper meal." Yes, the royal visit. Evelyn and George treated our home like their personal restaurant. They'd come over, criticize my cooking, talk endlessly about their needs and how we should be doing more for them. It was exhausting. Then, as if on cue, the doorbell rang. Michael hurried to open the door, revealing his parents, who barged in as if they owned the place. "Anna, dear, I hope you're making something good tonight." "We're so tired of the same old dishes," Evelyn said, not even bothering with a hello. George chimed in, "Yeah, and make sure there's enough. You always cook so little." I clenched my jaw, trying to keep my cool. "I'm making spaghetti bolognese. It'll be ready in a bit." Evelyn frowned. "Spaghetti? Again? Well, I suppose it'll have to do." The evening went as usual. Evelyn and George complained about everything, the food, their latest neighborhood gossip, and how we weren't living up to their expectations. Michael just nodded along, never once standing up for me. After dinner, while I was cleaning up, Michael confronted me in the kitchen. "You could try being nicer to my parents, Anna. They're just old and set in their ways." I slammed a plate into the dishwasher, my patience wearing thin. "Nicer? Michael, they treat me like a maid, and you just let them. When are you going to realize that your parents are manipulating us?" Michael's face hardened. "They're my parents, Anna. They come first. If you can't understand that, maybe you shouldn't be here." That stung. It was clear where his loyalties lay, and it wasn't with me. That night, as I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, I knew something had to change. I couldn't keep living like this, in a home where I felt like a stranger, married to a man who put his parents above our marriage. And that's just the beginning of my story. A story of how I found myself trapped in a marriage that was nothing like I had imagined, with a husband who had become a stranger and in-laws who saw me as nothing more than someone to use and belittle. If I thought my marriage with Michael was tough, dealing with his parents, Evelyn and George, was a whole different level of challenging. They had this knack for making everything about them, and they were experts at pushing my buttons. Let me paint a picture of a typical Sunday afternoon. Sundays were family days, as Evelyn liked to call them, which basically meant Michael and I had no say in how we spent our time. This particular Sunday, they showed up unannounced, as usual. I opened the door to find Evelyn standing there with her trademark disapproving look. "Anna, we need to talk about your garden. It's becoming an eyesore," she said, pushing past me into the house. I bristled at her tone. "We've been busy, Evelyn. The garden is not our top priority right now." George followed her in, grumbling, "Busy doing what? You don't even have kids to take care of." Before I could respond, Michael came in from the living room, all smiles. "Mom, Dad, glad you could make it." Anna was just about to start lunch. I shot Michael a look, but he avoided my gaze. Typical. As I got busy in the kitchen, Evelyn and George started in on their usual routine. They complained about their neighbors, the cost of living, and how nobody respected the good old days anymore. Lunch was served, and with it came more complaints. Evelyn to George, "This chicken is dry, Anna. Can't you do anything right?" George to Evelyn, "And these vegetables are overcooked. You'd think someone who works from home could manage a decent meal." I clenched my fists under the table, trying to keep my cool. Michael just kept eating, pretending not to hear. After lunch, the real fun began. Evelyn started with her demands. Evelyn to Anna, "We need you to drive us to the doctor's tomorrow. We can't rely on public transport at our age." I was taken aback. "But I have work meetings all day tomorrow. Can't you take a cab?" George snorted. "Why should we spend money on a cab when we have you?" I looked to Michael for support, but he just shrugged. "You know how they are, Anna. Just do it for peace." I felt my anger rising. Do it for peace? When do my needs get considered in this family? The rest of the day was more of the same. Evelyn needed help with her phone, George wanted advice on his garden, and I was expected to cater to their every whim. That evening, after they finally left, I confronted Michael. "Anna to Michael, why do you let them walk all over us? Why can't you stand up to them?" Michael was defensive. "They're my parents, Anna. They're old and set in their ways. We just have to deal with it." "But at what cost, Michael? Our happiness? Our marriage?" He didn't have an answer to that. He never did. I went to bed that night feeling alone and unsupported. It was becoming clear that Michael's loyalty to his parents was overshadowing our relationship. And I was starting to wonder if I was fighting a losing battle. Now, let me tell you about how Michael, the once charming man I married, started to change. It was like watching a flower wilt, except it wasn't as pretty. One evening, I came home late from work, tired and hungry. I had texted Michael earlier that I would be late, but when I walked in, what I saw made my blood boil. There was Michael, feet up on the coffee table, watching TV, and the house was a mess. Dirty dishes in the sink, takeout boxes on the counter, you get the picture. "Michael, I thought you were going to clean up today," I asked, trying to keep the frustration out of my voice. He barely glanced at me. "I was busy. Had a tough day. You can clean up, right?" I was stunned. "Busy? Doing what? You've been home all day." Michael turned off the TV and stood up, his face getting red. "You think you're the only one who gets tired? I work hard too, you know." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "But you promised to take care of the house today. And I've been working nonstop." He scoffed. "Oh, please. Your job is a breeze compared to mine. Just clean up and stop complaining." I was so angry I could barely speak. This wasn't the man I married. The man I married would have understood, would have helped. Days turned into weeks, and Michael's attitude only got worse. He started going out with his buddies on Fridays, coming home late, drunk, and expecting me to just deal with it. One Friday night, he stumbled in around 2 a.m., reeking of alcohol. "Where have you been?" I demanded. "Do you have any idea what time it is?" Michael sneered at me. "Out, having fun. Something you wouldn't understand." I was at my wit's end. "Fun? Well, I'm here worrying about you. This isn't what I signed up for, Michael." He just laughed. "What? You want me to stay home and be bored like you? No thanks." I realized then that Michael wasn't the man I fell in love with anymore. He had become someone else, someone who didn't care about our relationship or my feelings. One night, after another argument about his late nights, I tried to talk to him,